I can logically think about it all day long, but when we have a feeling come up that we've related to or applied meaning to in a certain way for so long, it was hard to separate myself from being that 14-year-old girl.
Well, what's interesting, and it brings up an interesting conversation, is like there's this conversation that I hear, it keeps happening like quite frequently. It's like, listen to your body, trust your body, like listen to what your body tells you, and that's how we learn. That's how we learn to like perceive the world, and that's fine to an extent, because what it does is it brings your spirit and your body into line with one another, so that you can start to be spirit driven. And when your body's in a state of ease, then you can be easily spirit driven. But as soon as your body switches into fear, and when it does that, it's running on the animal part of the brain, like the lizard part of the brain, in the sense like the brain stem, which we don't have conscious access to. So it's running on that when it switches into fear, and spirit doesn't get to, and then the body's like running separate from being spirit driven. And so once you bring them up enough into alignment, then spirit, and you start identifying with spirit or your higher self, then your body actually, then you kind of go to a place where you stop listening to your body, because spirit is going to start reprogramming your body to move with it, even in the face of fear. And so that's when you start having to choose how you feel, and then you can perceive things and work with them before they even start affecting your body. And then even so, like when you perceive something that might have been danger or fear before, you like run it through your heart and then give your body a different story to tell. Like you program a new template in, because what happened is like your animal brain created a story that didn't make sense in response to a situation that was painful and disorienting when you were 14. It created a story that didn't make sense, but it worked for you when you were 14, so you stuck with it. And then it got submitted to habit and got moved to a part of your brain that's completely out of your conscious awareness. So you can't even find that within you until you see yourself act it out and identify it. And then you can actually tap back into it with your consciousness and start to reprogram it. But you have to move to a place where you're willing to act from your intuition, and even if your actions are like what you would later consider like unskillful behavior, you need to see yourself do it in order to even identify it, so that you can shed light on it, and then your spirit can like make the necessary changes.
Wow, that's amazing. I just recorded a video on it's kind of, it goes into the conversation. It takes that conversation of using our head versus our heart into a whole another level, because it's not just this thing where it's like, oh yeah, you know, you don't use your heart, and this is what it looks like when you're using your heart, and this is what it looks like when you're using your brain. It's like, again, we can read about that all day long and hear about it, but when we have those STEM things that are running us that we haven't even brought awareness to, it's almost like the way I described it was like bringing us closer to ourselves, really, is what it comes to.
It's moving closer and closer and closer to the truth of who you are, which all of that stuff stands in the way still, all those old programs that we put in place. And it takes like having enough faith to just act out and see ourselves act out, so we can see, oh, that's how I behave in that situation, because we can conceptualize what we would do in that situation, and then all of a sudden we're in it and we do something completely different. So we have to see ourselves act out. And so to like what happens is, like, if you've got a lot of fear of judgment or a lot of like need to be right, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll just reserve ourselves and not act, and we're like processing our emotions internally, which doesn't help you, because you can't see what you're trying to get to if you look at it that way. So you actually have to just go with like the emotion that arises, act from it, watch yourself do it, and then own the fact that you did it, and then follow that template back in to find it, and then you can like shine light on it and let it go.